So you found a new build home and you're about to sign the contract. Usually you have a couple of days to review the contract and prepare for that contract signing, which you'll do in a model home office, kind of like this. But we wanted to share 7 things that you should know about builder contracts and how they're different from normal resale contracts. Hey, Joe Phillips here with Central Park Scoop and Focus Real Estate. As I mentioned in the intro, we're going to go over 7 things you should know about builder contracts. Before I jump into all those thoughts about the contract, I want to say I'm not an attorney. I'm a real estate broker. That means I get to practice like this much law in a very regimented way. And these are builder contracts. Item number 1 for you. Builder contracts are written by attorneys that work for the builder. So these are legal documents. I'm not qualified to be the only person that advises you on this contract, so you should have an attorney if you'd like to. But back to that first point, it's written by the builder, who is the seller of the home, their attorney. Of course, everything is going to be slanted in their favor. When you do a normal resale buy or sale, that is typically on a Colorado state approved contract, and state of Colorado tries to be fairly neutral between buyer and seller. No, in this situation, going into the new build, it's all slanted in their favor. So it's all about reading it, understanding it, getting legal advice if you want to, understanding the risks. It's not typically a negotiation where you're negotiating all the different parts of the contract. It's about understanding those risks. So item number 2 to know about the builder contract and the builder in general, they're not going to be very flexible. I don't say that to say something bad about builders, but I'm talking in this video about production builders. These are builders that have a few floor plans, a couple different models. You can choose from those plans, and then they have pre-selected options that you could choose from. But it's not a custom thing where you can do whatever you want. So don't expect a lot of flexibility from the builder, both in the plans and the selections and those things, or in the contract itself. They do like to have all of their contracts the same so that they know how they're operating, and it's just always done the same way. So even though you might not feel like it's a big deal to change item number 4.1-2, they probably are not going to want to change that. There's not a lot of flexibility. I will say that will probably go up and down as the market changes, and if the buyer starts to gain more leverage, maybe there is more flexibility. But for quite a while now, don't expect much flexibility. Item number 3 in the differences between a builder contract and a normal resale contract. Earnest money is different. So earnest money on a regular resale deal, you provide that to the title company, and then you go through the whole contract, and there's a lot of dates and deadlines. And as those dates and deadlines pass, you lose your ability to back out and get your earnest money back. But in a normal resale, there are quite a few points where you can get that earnest money back. So you really don't have skin in the game until pretty late in the process. With a new build, you're going to put down a pretty good chunk of money when you sign the contract, and you don't have as many outs on a new build as you do on a resale contract. So typically you're going to have maybe a small window at the beginning of the contract, and this isn't always, but sometimes, where you get to go make sure your financing is all good. And until the financing is all good, maybe that earnest money is not at risk. But then when you pass that point, there's really no other outs. So earnest money, I would say in general, everything is builder specific, is a little more at risk. And oftentimes on a new build, it's larger than on a resale home, which makes sense because the builder is they're letting you pick everything out. They're going to build this whole home, and they want you to have something invested as well. Item number 4. So I want to expand a little bit on the loan out difference between a resale and a new build. So on a new build, like I said a little bit earlier, you're probably only going to have maybe 7 to 20 or 30 days at the beginning once you sign your contract to get that financing all approved and feel confident to move forward with your earnest money non-refundable at that point. So pretty early in the process. On a resale, that loan out is typically one of the very last outs that's maybe 5 to 7 days before the closing. So you have your earnest money protected way longer on a resale than you do on a new build. Item number 5, the 5th difference between a resale contract and a new build. This is going to relate to appraisals. So on a resale home, there is typically in Colorado on the state approved form kind of an appraisal out. where you as the buyer, your lender is going to go get an appraisal. If it doesn't appraise for what you're paying, you have the option typically to back out, get your earnest money, and go buy another house. On a new build, you do not have that out. We've done a whole bunch of new contracts with a bunch of different builders, and I've seen this in every single one of their contracts where it says this contract is not contingent on the appraisal. So what that means is you go out, you select all the finishes and the lot premium and all in, you're into this thing for $1 million. And then during the process, your lender is still going to get an appraisal. What if it appraised for $950 and you're paying $1 million? This is not the builder's problem, this is your problem. And it says that right in the contract right there. So that's a very important risk for you to know. And if you have a good agent that's experienced with new builds, when you're making all those selections, they're going to try and monitor what you're selecting and not let you go way above what everybody else is doing, because that's where you can get in trouble on an appraisal, is if you put all of the options, the bells and whistles in, that might get trimmed back by the appraiser and you might end up paying more than it's appraised for. So understand that risk. Item number 6, inspections. How do those work on a resale versus a new build? Let's cover the resale first. So on a resale, about 10 days after you sign the contract, typically, you're going to have an inspector go out, look through the home, find all of the issues, and then you as the buyer kind of control things. You could back out and get your earnest money back if you weren't happy with the condition of the home, now that you know everything. Or you could negotiate with the seller to get some repairs or some concessions related to items you found. So you've got some options there. That's in the resale contract. In the new build contract, it's different. There is no out for inspection items. So you can get third-party inspections on a new build, and at Focus we always recommend those, and we'll offer 3 of them to you, so you have another set of eyes that's not part of the transaction watching things for you along the way. But in a new build, it's not about, hey, we're going to find problems and back out. It's about, we're going to find these issues, and then we're going to give the builder that documentation of the issues and just stay on them for you to make sure they fix those items before you move forward. So just a little bit of a different animal. The 7th and final item I wanted to tell you about the differences between resale and new build contracts is related to financing. It's related to interest rates specifically. So on a resale purchase, typically you're closing on that purchase 30 to 60 days from when you sign the contract, and that's soon enough for the lender to be comfortable to lock in your interest rate right at the beginning, and you know exactly what your interest rate is going to be when you close. That's great, that's really comfortable. On a new build, a lot of times you're 9 months, 12 months out between when you sign the contract and when the home is finished and you're ready to close. Most of the time, lenders don't want to lock a rate for 9 to 12 months. So they do your initial pre-approval and all that stuff at the beginning, but they say, hey, let's talk around when the home is drywalled, and then we're much closer to closing, that's when we'll lock your interest rate in. Well, that made me a little bit nervous when I built my own home. It might make you nervous because 9 to 12 months from now, who knows what interest rates are going to be. I was very worried about it when I built my home, and they actually went down during that period, and it was fine. But none of us know. Your realtor doesn't know. Nobody really knows what those interest rates are going to do. So it's different in that respect. I would just say be cautious, and when you run your numbers on how much this house is going to cost you every month and what your interest rate is going to be, if it were mine personally, I would just estimate that the interest rate goes up a little bit between now and when you close, and just make sure financially you're very comfortable with that higher rate and how much that would cost you every month. Well, that's 7 differences between new build contracts and resales. Hopefully, if you're considering the new build route and you're just a little curious, that helps you understand things and maybe feel better about understanding your risks going into it. If you haven't found a home already and you're still looking for an agent, we would love to help. My contact information is all below in the description. Love to meet up with you, find out about your needs, and see if we could help you find the right home. Thanks for watching.